Greetings and welcome to the Pampering Myself podcast. I'm your host, Pam Jones, aka Jonesy. Our mission is to empower women in every facet of life, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Join us as we explore self-care, personal growth, and holistic wellness, inspiring you to embrace your journey and nurture your inner strength. So grab your favorite snack or beverage, snuggle up in your favorite chair, and relax, because every woman deserves a little pampering. At some point, many women stop trusting themselves, not because they're incapable, but because they've spent years putting everyone else first. Sounds familiar? In this episode, we're going to talk about what it means to rebuild trust after seasons of survival, people-pleasing, and second-guessing your own needs. This is going to be a gentle, honest conversation about learning to listen to yourself again and honoring your inner voice and making decisions from alignment instead of fear. If you've ever ignored your gut, doubted your instincts, or felt disconnected from your own knowing, this episode is an invitation to come back home to yourself. So come on in. Same space, same calm energy, no rush, no expectations, just you and me talking honestly for a while. Because today's conversation is one that a lot of women don't even realize they need until they hear it out loud. We're talking about self-trust, not confidence, not boldness, self-trust. The quiet, steady knowing that you can listen to yourself and not betray what you hear. And if that already feels tender, that's okay. Because losing trust in yourself doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly. It happens in small amounts, moments where you ignore your intuition because someone else's needs felt louder. The moments where you talk yourself out of what you know because it would inconvenience someone else. Moments where survival requires you to silence parts of yourself just to get through the day. Sounds familiar? Most women don't wake up one day and decide they don't want to trust themselves anymore. It happens because they have to. Because being agreeable felt safer. And being honest, because being dependable felt more valued than being intuitive, because they learned early that listening to themselves wasn't always rewarded, but being useful was. So if you've ever said, I don't even know what I want anymore, I want you to hear this clearly. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been prioritizing everyone else's voice over your own for a long time. And the beautiful thing about self-trust is that it can be rebuilt gently, patiently, and without shame. So let's talk about what self-trust actually is, because it's not what social media makes it sound like. Self-trust isn't about always being right. It's not about never doubting yourself, and it's not about being fearless. Self-trust is believing that even if you make a mistake, you won't abandon yourself afterwards. It's knowing that you can handle the outcome of your choices because you'll stay present with yourself through them. And here's the part that surprises people. A lot of women don't struggle with trusting themselves in moments. They struggle with trusting themselves in small ones. The daily decisions, the boundaries, the inner nudges, the moments where something feels off. But you override it because you don't want to seem difficult. dramatic, or selfish. And every time you ignore yourself, you teach yourself not to listen. And over time, that voice gets quieter, not because it's gone, but because it learned you weren't responding. I want you to think back for a moment, not to the big turning points, but to the small ones. The times your body said no and your mouth said yes. The times your intuition whispered and your logic talked over it. The times you knew what you needed but told yourself it wasn't that important. Those moments matter because self-trust is built or is eroded in the everyday life. Now, a lot of women think they lost their intuition. They say things like, I used to be so in tune with myself. I've said it many times myself. Or I don't trust my judgment anymore. But intuition doesn't disappear. It gets buried under obligations, under fear, under conditioning, and under the belief that other people know better than you do. And let's be honest, some of us were taught that trusting ourselves was dangerous. Maybe you grew up in an environment where your feelings were dismissed, where you were told you were too sensitive, too emotional, too much. Maybe your decisions were constantly questioned. Maybe you learned that keeping the peace was more important than telling the truth. And that kind of conditioning doesn't just go away because you're grown now. It lives in your nervous system. And that's something we don't talk about enough. Self-trust isn't just a mindset shift. It's a nervous system recalibration. And when you've spent years in survival mode, your body learns to scan for what's safe, what's acceptable, what will keep things calm. So trusting yourself again means teaching your body that it's safe to choose you now, that it's safe to pause, that it's safe to say no, that it's safe to change your mind. This is why self-trust can feel shaky at first, not because you're doing it wrong, but because your system is adjusting. You're asking yourself to respond differently than you have for years. And growth like that doesn't feel smooth. It feels awkward. It feels uncertain. It feels like learning to walk on new ground. You might even notice yourself hesitating before making decisions you once made automatically. You might feel guilt creep in when you honor a boundary. You might second guess yourself after doing something that actually felt right. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't have trusted yourself. It means you're unlearning patterns that kept you safe once, but don't serve you anymore. And here's something important. Self-trust isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were before you learned to abandon yourself, before you learned to override your feelings, and before you learned that your needs were negotiable. That version of you still exists. She's not lost. She's just been quiet. Sometimes rebuilding self-trust looks like letting yourself change your answer, saying yes, then realizing it doesn't feel right, and choosing differently. Sometimes it looks like admitting you don't know yet, and that'd be okay. But sometimes it looks like grieving the years you didn't listen to yourself while also honoring that you did the best you could with what you had. You don't rebuild self-trust by being perfect. You rebuild it by being honest, by noticing when something feels off and pausing instead of pushing through, by acknowledging your feelings without immediately trying to fix them, and by giving yourself permission to evolve. And over time, something subtle but powerful happens. Your inner voice starts to speak up more clearly. Your decisions feel steadier. You stop outsourcing your knowing. You stop needing constant reassurance, not because you don't care what others think, but because you care what you think too. That's when self-trust becomes less of a concept and more of a lived experience, a quiet confidence, a kind of grounded presence, a sense of being at home within yourself again. So when you start trying to trust yourself again, it can feel uncomfortable, even scary, because self-trust requires you to listen, and listening requires you to slow down, and slowing down requires you to feel things you may have been avoiding. This is why alignment, boundaries, and self-trust all go together. You can't live in alignment if you don't trust yourself enough to honor what you feel. And you can't maintain boundaries if you don't trust your own needs. And you can't build peace if you keep second guessing your inner voice. Now let me tell you something gently, but honestly. If you've been waiting for someone to give you permission to trust yourself, then this is it. This is the permission. Self-trust begins when you stop asking, is this okay with everybody else? And start asking, is this okay with me? And that doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop disappearing for them. One of the biggest obstacles to self-trust is fear of making the wrong decision. We're so afraid of regret that we freeze, or we default to what's familiar, or let someone else decide. But here's the truth. You don't avoid regret by ignoring yourself. You create it. Self-trust doesn't promise you a life without mistakes. It promises you a life where you learn from them instead of punishing yourself for them, where you offer yourself compassion instead of criticism, where you say, okay, that didn't work, but I'm still here. And this is important. If you have a habit of beating yourself up after decisions don't go perfectly, it makes sense that you don't trust yourself. Why would you? Trust grows where safety exists. And if your inner world is harsh, self-trust struggles to survive there. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from knowledge in communities that I'm in where people feel safe to open up and express their thoughts, their innermost sacred feelings of doubt and of stress and of concern what others feel about them or what they feel about themselves. So part of rebuilding self-trust is changing how you talk to yourself, especially after things don't go as planned. Instead of, I knew I shouldn't have done that, try to say I did my best. I could with what I knew. Instead of, I always mess things up. Try, I'm learning. That's not positive thinking. That's emotional maturity. Self-trust also grows when you keep small promises to yourself. Not dramatic ones, not life-altering ones, small ones. Drinking the water you said you would. Taking that walk. Going to bed when you said you would. Saying no when you meant no. And every time you follow through, you send yourself a message. I can rely on me. And listen, this matters, especially for women who spent years being reliable for everyone else. You know how to show up. You know how to be consistent. The work now is turning some of that reliability inward to yourself. Here's another truth we don't say enough. Sometimes you don't trust yourself because you've been living in environments that don't support your growth. When you constantly questioned, dismissed, or overwritten, your confidence in your own judgment erodes. That's not a personal flaw. That's a rational pattern, and recognizing that is part of healing. Self-trust thrives in environments where you're respected, where your voice matters, where your boundaries are honored, which is why as you grow, some relationships feel uncomfortable. Not because you've changed in a bad way, because you've stopped shrinking. And this can feel lonely at times. Let's be real. When you start trusting yourself, you may stop over-explaining. You stop seeking approval. You may stop asking for permission. And some people will notice. Some won't like it. And that's okay. You're not here to be palatable at the expense of your peace. Now, I want to give you something practical. Because self-trust isn't built in theory. It's built in practice. When you're unsure about a decision, instead of asking 10 people what they think, try asking yourself a few simple questions. Does this choice expand me or contract me? Do I feel calmer or more anxious when I imagine saying yes? If no one had an opinion, what would I choose? Now, those questions help you reconnect with your own knowing. And when you do make a choice, stand by it, even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's uncomfortable. Not defensive, but with presence. You don't have to justify it to everyone. You just have to honor it. Now, I also want to say this, because someone listening needs it. You can trust yourself and still ask for help. Self-trust doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means choosing support intentionally, not from self-doubt. It means collaborating and not outsourcing your power. And if you're in a season where you truly don't know what you want yet, that's okay too. Trusting yourself sometimes means trusting the pause, trusting that clarity will come if you give yourself just the time and the space, trusting that you don't have to force answers. So let me ask you something quietly and honestly. When was the last time you listened to yourself without arguing back? When was the last time you honored a feeling without explaining it away? And when was the last time you chose something because it felt right, not because it made sense to everyone else? If it's been a while, that doesn't mean you failed. It means this is the moment to begin again. And I want you to hear this clearly as we close. You are not too late to trust yourself. You are not incapable of making good decisions. You are not broken because you doubted yourself in survival seasons. You did what you had to do. And now you get to choose differently. This podcast is about that choice. Choosing alignment, choosing boundaries, choosing self-trust, not loudly, not dramatically, but consistently. So here's my invitation to you, and this one matters. This week, make one decision based on how it feels in your body, not how it looks on paper. One small decision, then honor it. Don't explain it away. Don't apologize for it. Just notice how it feels to stand with yourself. And if this episode spoke to you, don't just move on to the next thing. Sit with it. Journal about it. Share it with someone who's learning to trust herself again as well. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss what we're building here. Leave a review, not for vanity, but because it helps this space reach women who need these conversations. And if you want to go deeper, stay close. The next episode will continue to build on this foundation. Alignment, boundaries, self-trust. This is how peace becomes sustainable. You don't need to be louder. You don't need to be stronger. You don't need to prove anything. Just need to listen to yourself. and stay. Now, I'd like to leave you with this quote by Glennon Doyle. Every time you abandon yourself to make peace with someone else, you start a war inside. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to pamper yourself. Goodbye.